إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي ولي الله وصي رسول الله وخليفته بلا فصل اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي حجة الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعمري سارا وعيشي قارا ورزقي دارا وولادي برارا واجعل دين قبر نبيك محمدا صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين الله. Please check your phones.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي ولي الله ووصي رسول الله وخليفته بلا فصل اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه يا صاحب الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله
سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اللہ اکبر. استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اللہ اکبر. بحول اللہ و قوتہ اقوم و اقعد. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین. ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین. اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن له کفوا احد. کذالک اللہ ربی. اللہ اکبر. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجهم ولن اعداءهم اجمعین. اللہم لن قتلت الحسین و اولادہ و اصحابہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العظیم و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
سمیع اللہ لمن حمیدہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اللہ اکبر. استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اللہ اکبر. الحمد للہ. اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ واشہد ان محمدا عبدہ ورسولہ. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وتقبل شفاعتہ وارفع درجتہ. بحول اللہ و قوتہ اقوم و اقعد. سبحان اللہ والحمد للہ ولا الہ الا اللہ. سبحان اللہ والحمد للہ ولا الہ الا اللہ. سبحان اللہ والحمد للہ ولا الہ الا اللہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العظیم و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
سمیع اللہ لمن حمیدہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اللہ اکبر. استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ. اللہ اکبر.
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. اللہم ارزقنی شفاعت الحسین یوم الولود.
اللہ اکبر. الحمد للہ. اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ واشہد ان محمدا عبدہ ورسولہ. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. السلام علیکم ایھا النبی و رحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. السلام علینا وعلی عباد اللہ الصالحین. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. اللہ اکبر. اللہ اکبر. اللہ اکبر. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
اللہ
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم ان اللہ و ملائکتہ یصلون علی النبی یا ایھا الذین آمنوا صلوا علیہ وسلموا تسلیما اللہم صل علی محمد بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم سبحان من لا یعتدی علی اہل مملکتی سبحان من لا یاخذ اہل الارض بالوان العذاب سبحان الرؤوف الرحیم اللہم اجعل فی قلبی نورا و بصرا و فہما و علما انک علی کل شیء قدیر اللہم صل علی
یا صاحب زمانت
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم اللہ اکبر اللہ اکبر اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ اشہد ان محمد رسول اللہ اللہم صلی علی محمد اشہد ان محمد رسول اللہ اللہم صلی علی محمد اشہد ان امیر المومنین و امام المتقین علی ولی اللہ و وصی رسول اللہ و خلیفتہ بلا فصل اللہم صلی علی محمد اشہد ان امیر المومنین و امام المتقین علی حجۃ اللہ اللہم صلی علی محمد حی علی الصلاۃ حی علی الصلاۃ حی علی الفلاح حی علی الفلاح حی علی خیر العمل حی علی خیر العمل قد قامت الصلاۃ قد قامت الصلاۃ اللہ اکبر اللہ اکبر لا الہ الا اللہ لا حول ولا قوة الا باللہ العلی العظیم استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ اللہ اکبر بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمدللہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم انا اعطیناک الکوثر فصل لربک وانحر ان شانک هو الابتر اللہ اکبر
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العظیم و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
سمع اللہ لمن حمیدہ اللہ اکبر
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العالی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
اللہ اکبر استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ اللہ اکبر
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العالی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
اللہ اکبر بحول اللہ و قوتہ یقوم و اقعد بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمدللہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم قل هو اللہ احد اللہ الصمد لم یلد ولم یولد ولم یکن له کفوا احد کذالک اللہ ربی اللہ اکبر اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہم ولن اعداءہم اجمعین یا اللہ یا رحمن یا رحیم یا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبی علی دینک اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد اللہ اکبر
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العظیم و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
سمع اللہ لمن حمیدہ اللہ اکبر
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العالی و بحمدہ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
اللہ اکبر، استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ، اللہ اکبر،
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اللہ اکبر، الحمدللہ، اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ واشہد ان محمدا عبدہ ورسولہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وتقبل شفاعتہ وارفع درجتہ، بحول اللہ وقوتہ یقوم واقعد، سبحان اللہ والحمدللہ ولا الہ الا اللہ، سبحان اللہ والحمدللہ ولا الہ الا اللہ، سبحان اللہ والحمدللہ ولا الہ الا اللہ، استغفر اللہ اکبر، سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العظیم و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، سمع اللہ لمن حمیدہ، اللہ اکبر،
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اللہ اکبر، استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ، اللہ اکبر،
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اللہ اکبر، بحول اللہ وقوتہ یقوم واقعد، سبحان اللہ والحمدللہ ولا الہ الا اللہ، سبحان اللہ والحمدللہ ولا الہ الا اللہ، سبحان اللہ والحمدللہ ولا الہ الا اللہ، استغفر اللہ اکبر، سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العظیم و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہم، سمع اللہ لمن حمیدہ، اللہ اکبر،
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اللہ اکبر، استغفر ربی و اتوب الیہ، اللہ اکبر،
سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان ربی العلی و بحمدہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، اللہم ارزقنی شفاعت الحسین یوم الورود۔
اللہ اکبر، الحمدللہ، اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ واشہد ان محمدا عبدہ ورسولہ، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد، السلام علیکم ایھا النبی ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام علینا وعلی عباد اللہ الصالحین، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، اللہ اکبر، اللہ اکبر، اللہ اکبر، اللہم صلی علی
برای رزمندگان اسلام بلندتر صلوات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد اللهم إني أسألك بحق محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين وصاحب الزمان أدركني ولا تهلكني اللهم عجل وليك الفرج اللهم ادخل على أهل القبور السرور اللهم اغن كل فقير اللهم اشف كل جاي اللهم اقض كل ريان اللهم اقض دين كل مدين اللهم فرج عن كل مكروم اللهم رد كل غريب اللهم فك كل أسير اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين اللهم اشف كل مريض اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك اللهم اغض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد السلام علیکم یا ابا عبد اللہ والروح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جاء لولا أخلاد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام علیکم جمیعا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا مولانا یا غریب الغرباء السلام علیکم یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء السلام علیکم شمس الشموس السلام علیکم انیس النفوس السلام علیکم ایها المدفون بارض توس السلام علیکم مغیظ الشیعة والزوار فی یوم الجزاء السلام علیکم سلطان العرب والعجم السلام علیکم ابو الحسن علی بن موسی الرضا ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکم یا مولانا یا صاحب العصر والزمان الامان 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 من فتنة الزمان والمكان السلام علیکم خلیفۃ الرحمن السلام علیکم شریک القرآن السلام علیکم مظہر الایمان السلام علیکم امام زماننا عجل اللہ تعالی فرجک وسہل اللہ تعالی مخرجک وظہورک السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ
Assalamu alaikum everyone. One quick announcement. There is a black Toyota Corolla with the license plate BG51572, a black Toyota Corolla BG51572 that is parked in the unpaved area. If that belongs to you, we need you to adjust your parking. It is blocking the exit. Black Toyota Corolla BG51572. Thank you.
ایک اور بآواز بلندتر صلوات. نہر پہ حضرت عباس کے لاشے کے قریب، نہر پہ حضرت عباس کے لاشے کے قریب، ایک بہن خستہ تنو خشتہ جگر خفتہ نصیب، بے نوا بے کسو بے پردہ و لاچار و غریب، لیکن اس پر بھی محمد کے گھرانے کی نقیب، زرد چہرے پہ ہیں بکھرے ہوئے بالوں کی نقاب، جیسے جزدان میں لپٹی ہوئی اسماء کی کتاب، جا بجا جسم پہ ہیں خون کے دھبوں کے نشان، جیسے پیری میں اٹھائی ہو کوئی لاش جوان، ورم آنکھوں میں کمر خم ہے تو خاموش زبان، ضبط کا پھر بھی یہ عالم ہے کہ گریا نہ فغاں، کون بی بی ہے جو اس طرح سے جان کھوتی ہے، جس طرح لاش پہ بھائی کے بہن روتی ہے، محویت کا ہے یہ عالم کے نظر ہٹتی نہیں، چومتی ہے کبھی شان تو کبھی جھک کے جبین، کبھی تھراتا ہے لاشا کبھی مختل کی زمین، خوف ہے عرش الہی نہ الٹ جائے کہیں، لاش عباس پہ یہ دختر ہے دے تو نہیں، دیکھیے مضطر تو نہیں، رو کے کہتی ہے اٹھو صاحب شمشیر اٹھو، حیدر عصر اٹھو، وقت کے شبیر اٹھو، آل تطہیر کی سوئی ہوئی تقدیر اٹھو، کاٹ دو عابد دلگیر کی زنجیر اٹھو، آگ ہی آگ ہے بھڑکی ہوئی خیموں میں تمام، چھن گئی سر سے ردا، جاتی ہوں میں سوئے شام، شان کیا تیرے کٹے بندھ گئی بازو میں رسن، سر پہ کیا گرز لگا ہو گئی بے پردہ بہن، تیری کیا جان گئی مارے گئے شاہ امم، فصل گل ایسی لٹی ہو گیا بے پردہ، فصل گل ایسی لٹی ہو گیا برباد چمن، چین سے سوئیں گے سب اہل ستم راتوں کو، خوف اعداء سے نہ سو پائیں گے ہم راتوں کو، میرے عباس قیامت ہے بپا تیرے بعد، لٹ کے برباد ہوئی آل ابا تیرے بعد، مٹ گئی رسم وفا جانے وفا تیرے بعد، خاک دنیا میں ہے جینے کا مزہ تیرے بعد، لے کے رانڈوں کو یتیموں کو کدھر جائے بہن، میرے عباس دعا مانگو کہ مر جائے بہن، میرے عباس دعا مانگو کہ مر جائے بہن، اور وقت رخصت ہے میرے شیر اجازت دے مجھے، قافلہ چلنے کو تیار ہے ہمت دے مجھے، خرمن کفر جلا دوں وہ حرارت مجھے، یعنی تقریر میں شمشیر کی خصلت مجھے، رن میں شمشیر چلانا تو میرا کام نہیں، شام کوفہ نہ الٹ دوں تو میرا نام نہیں، نہر پہ حضرت عباس کے لاشے کے قریب صلوات۔
ایک اور مرتبہ درود بھیجیے محمد و آل محمد۔ اسلام کا شباب ہے، عباس کا علام، اسلام کا شباب ہے، عباس کا ایک زور بو تراب ہے، عباس کا اسلام کی حیات ہے، عباس کی وفا، اسلام کی حیات ہے، عباس کی وفا، اور روح انقلاب ہے، عباس کا، اور روح انقلاب ہے، مشق سکینہ صرف نشانی تھی پیاس کی، بچوں کا اضطراب ہے، عباس کا بچوں کا اضطراب ہے، عباس کا اترا ہے دیکھو عرش سے، عباس کے لیے خالق کا انتخاب ہے، عباس کا خالق کا انتخاب ہے، عباس کا کیا پوچھتے ہو مجھ سے، بھلا عظمت علام ہر رخ سے لا جواب ہے عباس کا ہر رخ سے لا
جواب ہے عباس کا
ہر دور کے یزید تجھے یہ پتہ نہیں ہر دور کے یزید تجھے یہ پتہ نہیں تحریک انقلاب ہے عباس کا علام تحریک انقلاب
ہے عباس کا
کرب و بلا سے تابا ابد دہر میں اسد کرب و بلا سے تابا ابد دہر میں اسد ہر ظلم کا جواب ہے عباس کا علام ہر ظلم کا جواب ہے عباس کا علام اسلام کا شباب ہے عباس کا علام
ماشاءاللہ جزاک اللہ
محمد وآل محمد صلوات صلی علی محمد وآل محمد
بار دیگر صلوات ایک مرتبہ اور صلوات ارشاد فرمائیے نکلے خیمے سے جو ہتھیار لگائے عباس نکلے خیمے سے جو ہتھیار لگائے عباس چڑھ کے رہوار پہ میدان میں آئے عباس غل ہوا فوج میں لو مشک بھی لائے عباس دیکھنا پانی کی ایک بوند نہ پائے عباس، غم ہے پیاسوں کا سجے جنگ کے ہتھیار بھی ہیں، لڑنے بھی آئے ہیں پانی کے طلبگار بھی ہیں، نکلے خیمے سے جو صلوات بر محمد بارے دیگر صلوات. یہ کہہ رہے ہیں آج بھی نالے فرات کے، یہ کہہ رہے ہیں آج بھی نالے فرات کے، پیاسے رہے خریدنے والے فرات کے، گرمی تھی کربلا کے بیاباں میں اس قدر، گرمی تھی کربلا کے بیاباں میں اس قدر، خود پڑ گئے تھے سینے میں چھالے فرات کے، خود پڑ گئے تھے سینے میں چھالے فرات کے، زینب کا تھا بیان ابھی کم سن ہے میرے لال، کر دینا تشنگی کو حوالے فرات کے، اب تاب حشر ہوگا نا پانی کسی پابند، اب تاب حشر ہوگا نا پانی کسی پابند، کھلوا دیے حسین نے تالے فرات کے، کھلوا دیے حسین نے تالے فرات کے، عباس اپنی قبر بنا کر لبے فرات، عباس اپنی قبر بنا کر لبے فرات، ارمان تم نے خوب نکالے فرات کے، سقائے اہل بیت کی راہوں میں اے سروش، سقائے اہل بیت کی راہوں میں اے سروش، آنکھیں بچھا رہے تھے اجالے فرات کے، آنکھیں بچھا رہے تھے اجالے فرات کے، یہ کہہ رہے ہیں آج بھی نالے فرات کے۔ صلوات بر محمد والا فاتحہ۔ جب صدر زیں سے گر پڑے عباس سے باوفا، جنگل سے آئی گریہ زہرا کی بھی صدا، اکبر نے دوڑ کر شہ والا سے یہ کہا، چلیے حضور نہر پہ مارے گئے، چلیے حضور نہر پہ مارے گئے، بے دست دشمنوں نے کیا اس دلیر کو، رو آئیے ترائی میں رو آئیے ترائی میں حیدر کے شیر کو، یہ سن کے پیٹتے ہوئے اٹھے زمیں سے شاہ، فرمایا ہے غضب میرے بچے ہوئے تباہ، یہ کیا کہا کہ آنکھوں میں دن ہو گیا سیاہ، مظلوم سے بچھڑ گئے عباس مدت ہوئی تمام سکینہ کے چین کی، توڑا فلک نے آج کمر کو، توڑا فلک نے آج کمر کو حسین کی، منہ رکھے خون بھرے ہوئے چہرے پدی صدا، بھیا حسین آیا ہے آواز دو ذرا، ہے ہاتھ دونوں ہاتھ بدن سے ہوئے جدا، بازو کے صدقے ان تیرے شانوں کے میں فدا، بھیا ہمارے ہاتھ تو بیکار ہو گئے، تم ہاتھ کھو کے جعفر تیار، تم ہاتھ کھو کے جعفر تیار، منہ رکھ کے منہ پا کہنے لگے شاہ خوش خصال عباس میں کن آنکھوں سے دیکھوں تیرا یہ حال اس دم بھی ہے تمہیں میرے آداب کا خیال جب ذبح ہوں گے ہم تو کسے ہوئے گا ملال صدقے حسین تیرے تنے پاش پاش کے ایک بار ہم کو گرد تو پھرنے ایک بار ہم کو گرد تو پھرنے دو لاش یہ سن کے اس دلیر نے ایک سرد آہ کی مشکیز پا تڑپ کے بحسرت نگاہ کی منہ شرم سے چھپا لیا گودی میں شاہ کی حالت تباہ ہو گئی ہے در کے ماہ کی جب دل کو بے کلی ہو تو کس طرح کل پڑے زانو پشے کے آنکھوں سے آنسو نکل پڑے زانو پشے کے آنکھوں سے آنسو نکل پڑے فرمایا شہ نے کس لیے روتے ہو زار زار لو اب کچھ اپنا حال کہو تم پا میں نثار کیا جی پا ہے بنی جو تڑپتے ہو بار بار کی عرض اس جرینے کے ہے وقت احتضار آقا سے چھوٹنے کا قلق ہے غلام کو پاؤں گا اب کہاں شہ پاؤں گا اب کہاں شہ گرد و مقام یہ کہتے تھے کہ پھر گئیں آنکھوں کی پتلیاں ہچکی کے ساتھ آ گئی سوکھے لبوں پجاں حسرت سے دیکھ کر طرف شاہ ان سو جاں دنیا سے کوچ کر گئے دنیا سے کوچ کر گئے عباس دنیا سے کوچ کر گئے عباس چھوڑا جرین ساتھ شہ مشرقین کا ایک گول اٹھا کے مر گیا ایک گول اٹھا کے مر گیا ایک گول اٹھا کے مر گیا عاشق حسین کا
صلوات پر محمد وآل محمد اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم السلام علیکم. Just a few very important announcements. Outside, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning and a flash flood warning until 4 a.m. Tomorrow. So we please request everyone to stay inside the building as much as possible. If anything were to happen, please follow the instructions of all management and the volunteers. IEC is on backup power if needed. We have a generator, so if for some reason the power does go out, there will be emergency lights that are on. We ask you not to panic, not to rush to the exits. We request everyone to stay where they are and follow procedure as we will instruct them. Please do not block any exits. There are exits over here, both sides of the hall. Please do not block exits. If you are going to your car, if you are going to the shuttle, we request you to send one person out to do that. Do not crowd the exits, as that creates both a fire hazard and other hazards as well. So again, please be aware We are expecting a large crowd tonight, and because of the rain, we are expecting a lot of people to start coming inside slowly. So with the loud salawat, I request you all to come as close as possible to the stage and to the members. Salawat. So inshallah, tomorrow we will go through the Day of Ashura program. However, if you would like to look at it, you can go to the website, IECHUSAINI.org, and click on the calendar, and then the full program is there. We'll also be sending out a flyer with the details that will be on social media and on WhatsApp. If you are not following any of those, you can get the links to those from the website as well. Last thing, we do have a number of Majlis series coming after this series. Right away, we have Sayyid Bilal Rizvi coming in starting next Friday. We are looking for sponsors of Tabarruk for that weekend. If you are interested, please reach out to me or Sister Tahira Kazmi, and we can have that arranged. That series by Sayyid Bilal Rizvi will also be in English. Can I get another loud salawat? Tonight, we enter the 9th lecture in this series as we finish up the 8th night of Muharram. We honor Hazrat Abbas, Alamdar. And you'll see the ziyarat of the Alam come out tonight. We thank our guest speaker, Moulana Sayyid Ali Abbas Razawi, for gracing us with his knowledge and his presence. I would like to request him to come to the member and address the Majlis with a loud salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم ورجساه وطهرهم تطهيرا أما بعد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كافى يا عين صاد صدق الله العلي العظيم. Tonight's discussion goes into its 9th night. These next 2 nights bring an end to our 10-day discussion, and in essence takes the entire Azad to a pinnacle, the day of Ashura being the most important day. of the entire year for the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. The night of Ashura, which will be tomorrow night, has the same significance as Laylatul Qadr does. For a believer, the night of Ashura changes destiny in the way that Laylatul Qadr does. Both of which has a nisbah to the Imam of the time. The reason why Ashura is Ashura and it has the barakah on the day of Ashura is because Waliullah is in mourning. The pain and the grief that you feel is an overflow of that wali. Same way as we mentioned the very first night. Laylatul Qadr is Laylatul Qadr, and the only way you know it's Laylatul Qadr is because you're told it's Laylatul Qadr, and some feelings you may have if you focus. For those people who have attained the status, maybe they may see the malaika and so forth. Depending on how high a status you have, you see different things in a different way. But the fact is, the pinnacle of Laylatul Qadr is because the night is the night of the wali of Allah. Surah Qadr itself emphasizes the fact that when angels descend, and if you can see those angels descend, you'll also notice that they descend upon a particular location, and that location is the heart of the wali. The overflow of that night is what benefits me and you. You see, look, if you look at the month of Ramadan is the month of Allah. It is the holiest month in essence in the entire year. And the reason why Ramadan is so important is because of one night. And that one night is important because the Quran was revealed on that night. Where was the Quran revealed? On the heart of the wali of Allah, on the Rasul itself. And because of that, this entire month becomes holy, the night becomes holy. That the verse of the Quran says it's better than 1,000 months. Here, 1,000, you can't quantify how many months it is, but in effect, it's an entire lifetime. So a person who worships on the night of Qadr is like they worshipped an entire lifetime. Because of that one reason, that night is linked to the wali of Allah. The biggest dalil, the Imam says, the biggest dalil that you have, the Imam says, in relation to the fact that your madhab is correct, is Surah Qadr itself. Why? Because the verse says, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. The malaika continuously come down on this night. It's not the fact they used to come down on that night. It wasn't the fact that they came in the time of Rasulullah. No, until the day of judgment. At every Qadr, you will find that the malaika descend. That tells you there's a wali of Allah alive and present that those malaika descend to. So that night becomes known as Laylatul Qadr. In the same way you'll find that Ashura has a similar significance. And our responsibility is to connect ourselves to that culture of Ashura. The reason you find that grief is there, and you'll notice, on day one, maybe that grief is not there continuously. But when the day of Ashura comes, from the time of Fajr onwards, there's a grief there, unless if you drown it out by talking to people or whatever you have. This is why if you notice what's mustahab and not on that day, one of the things you've been told to do is keep quiet. Don't talk to people. Don't discuss your life issues and so forth. It keeps that grief there. The only way you can drown that grief out is if you start talking to people about random things. The fitr of a child is like that. You'll notice as a child grows up, they grow in that grief of Sayyid al-Shuhada. The only way you drown it out is when you start talking about worldly things. And you'll see that come around about 2, 3 o'clock. After you've done your azah, 4 o'clock comes in, you have a small space, you're tired, you sit down, you start talking. That grief starts diminishing. Don't let that grief diminish. Allow that grief to overflow. Why is that? Because you're connecting your heart to the wali of Allah. And that is the 12th Imam. The only time you find that you have a clear connection with the 12th Imam is the day of Ashura. And the entire day you can feel that. It's only one day. That day will pass. Just remember this. Whatever connection you have to the movement of Sayyid al-Shuhada, whatever connection you have will be beneficial to you in this world and in the hereafter. In particular in the hereafter. And as the hadith says, there are different stages in your journey in the hereafter where this ishq of Hussein will take you. Look, the most painful moment for you is when you go into your grave. In fact, even before that, when Malakul Maut comes. When Malakul Maut comes, Hussein will benefit you then. But before even Hussein, Amir al-Mu'mineen will benefit you. Here in a tradition, the Imam says, he says, look, if you claim to love my father, there was an entire dialogue that takes place. Person comes to the Imam, he says, I love Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, if you do, if you're truthful in what you say, then you'll find that Imam comes in 3 places. First, at the point of your death. The Imam will come. And if he doesn't come, you're not dead yet. Imam will come. And when the Imam comes, he'll come and he'll help you. The second place you find is when you come to the Sirat, when you go to Kawthar. But Ishq of Hussein will help you at 7 different maqamat from your grave. You'll find even Ayatollah Kuchani would say, there's a book that you may have seen, it's online, The Journey to the Unseen World. I think this is a translation of the book. That's written by Abbas Kuchani. Sheikh Abbas Kuchani was the successor to Sayyid Ali Qadi in Najaf. He was a mujtahid, he was a successor to Qadi. He writes this book, Journey into the Unseen World. In that he talks about the state, the ahwalat of when they go into barzakh, alam barzakh. Once when he came to Qom, Shaheed Mutahir, he asked him, he said to him, look, where did you get all this material from? You're not dead yet. How did you get it? He said, it's a combination of 2 things. He says, part of it is hadith, but part of it was my own journey through the malakut. As you know, you get to a stage in life, if you're able to climb and truly understand wilaya, that you can go through the entire journey of barzakh while you're alive. And you can go through the entire journey when it comes to qiyamah whilst you're alive. And you can attain all the way up to heaven and hell when you're alive. But look, that's a different discussion for a different day. The fact of the matter is this, that Abbas Kuchani attained this and he saw the entire malakut. Now if you read the book, even he's feeling wobbly in certain places. So you can imagine a man who's reached that maqam. But there's something interesting that he says. He says, even in the barzakh, you find that Abul Fadl Abbas and Ali Akbar are still ready to come back. 2 individuals who never had an opportunity to defend Imam Hussein in the way that they wanted to defend Imam Hussein. Both of them are ready and waiting for Baqiyatullah to come so that they may come back again. And this is, you notice within our tradition, we have this, nobody else does, by the way. You won't find this in our brothers' tradition, is the idea of the second coming. The idea that the first person to come back when the 12th Imam comes back is Imam Hussein himself. And then after that you have a series of Aimma who are going to come back. Now before I start this, because I know at one point in the next couple of minutes I'm going to have to stop this, I'm going to mention 1 minute of something and then I'm going to bring this discussion to a close, hand it over to the people who I need to hand it over to, and then we'll convene. One thing I just want to say is this. They're going to stand up because they have to stand up. It's embarrassing for me that anyone has to stand up. The reason being is that it tells us that we're not doing our job properly. This is zikr of Imam Hussein. Hussein doesn't need you. Hussein doesn't need me. Today we have the tawfiq to attach our name into the zikr, right? I don't get paid for saying this, by the way. The only thing I know is this, is that we have a responsibility to Imam Hussein's message. In the way that you learnt, we have a responsibility to future generations for them to learn. So when these poor people do stand up, remember, your akhirah lies in this. If you, for example, contribute to the zikr of Hussein, and one person in this crowd learns something, and he goes out, and there's an exponential effect that he teaches somebody who teaches somebody, and there's a domino effect. You and your grave will benefit, your parents and their graves will benefit, and if one person's dua is accepted here, then 7 generations of theirs will benefit. People always ask, how do we make sure that our future generations to come are going to be on this haqq? The only way you can do it is if you attach yourself to Hussein. The fastest way, other than learning yourself, and even then, who knows, is to contribute in some way to the message of Sayyid al-Shuhada. I'll leave that there. I'll hand it to them, inshallah. And inshallah we'll convene after they've given their discussion. Salawat.
Salawat bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Stand up here. Bare digar nare salawat. First of all, we see some people are still waiting outside. If I could request you all to please come forward as much as you could. We promise that we will make this session very short and very productive, inshallah. Moulana, with your permissions. My name is Kumail Razawi, and this is
Brother Shan Abbas.
We are the servants, we are the volunteers, we are the poor people that Moulana is referring to. We are poor because we want to make you rich, if I permit that. We need your help. We need your help to make this center more productive. We want to make your arrival, your engagement, your experience to attend the majalis and the jashan and the educational events that are held here in this center more pleasant, more easy, more convenient, and more productive as well. In order to make all of those things happen, we all need to pitch in, contribute, partake, and collaborate. We need your help financially. We need your help, physically. We need your help, in a spiritual manner as well as in a physical manner as well. Whatever way that you can contribute, partake, attend, join us, it would be beneficial. But at this particular moment, we are particularly asking for your help to achieve a financial goal. We have a financial goal to make this center, this property better. So Sean, if I may request you first, if you could give an overview of what is the expansion plan that we have, that we would like to let the community know of what we are planning to do with what is the property, what is the project, and what do we need?
Thank you, Kumail Bhai. 168%. That is the number that the community has grown within the last 10 years. 168%. We invested in this community by this building here within the last 10 years. We invested in the land that is over there where a lot of you might be parked. We are also now, we have invested in land that is right across the street from Goodrich Avenue alongside Peterson. This is for expansion. This is for the ability to have something for our future. 168% was not expected 10 years ago. If we hadn't planned 10 years ago, you all would not be able to fit in this building today. So imagine 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we don't invest in the properties around IEC, we will not have space. Furthermore, just to operate this building, as you can see, we've had between 1,800 and 2,500 people within the last 4 to 5 days, each day. It takes a lot of wear and tear. It takes a lot of funding to be able to just operate. And unfortunately, this world revolves around money, and to be able to do that, we need funds from you. As we are solely a not-for-profit organization, we rely on funding and donations from you all.
Yep. So, Sean, first of all, let's share with them how we can contribute. You can raise your hand and one of the volunteers will provide you some information through which you can actually either provide a check right now or you can actually donate online as well. Near to your pillars, you will see some QR codes. If you can take your phone and zoom it to that QR code, you will get a donation link. You can pay directly. We have a specific target that we are looking for. You may have received a message from us, and for those who haven't received our messages, please go to our website and sign up. The number that we are looking for is 1350, $1,350. And we need 1,000 people to contribute $1,350. And that $1,350 number is a very special number as well. So if you just take out the zero for a second, it's put at the end for a specific reason. 135 is the adad of Janab Fatimatul Zahra Salamullah alayha. Please recite a loud salawat. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. tonight is the remembrance of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, Fatima, Kalabia, and also they also regarded as the son of Janab Fatima Zahra Salamullahi alayha as well. So from both standpoint, the number 135 has a special meaning for all of us. Okay, that's the number of Janab Fatima Zahra Salamullahi. And we are requesting you to donate on the name of Janab Fatima Zahra Salamullahi alayha, and for the cause of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, for Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We need your help. We need your help to make these programs more successful. I'll give you an example. Amongst all of you who are sitting over here, there is a good percentage of people who couldn't able to find parking neither in our back parking space or in the gravel space. Is it fair to assume that? You may have parked it someplace else. We have a project that we are looking at. Sean just mentioning about the investment. We have about close to 2.5 acre property at our fingertips. We need funds to close that deal. 2.5 acres of land for potential parking space. That's a lot of space that inshallah in our subsequent years, we will be able to make your presence, your arrival, your experience over here much more pleasant. And as Moulana said, it all kind of contributes towards the partaking in these events. So your involvement for yourself, for your family, for your marhumeen, have a direct benefit for the cause of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. So we need your help. Sean.
Again, 1,350. If we can have 1,000 individuals donate, or 1,000 families donate 1,350, we can hit our goal and be able to accomplish what we need to do. That includes the investment in the property. That includes operations throughout the year. As you all know, IEC offers over 450 programs throughout the year. And I know a few of you here, a handful of you come here just a handful of days a year. Some of you are here from out of town. But even investing just $3.50 a day helps for this. If you cannot donate $13.50 right now, think about $500 for the next 5 months. That will help. Anything you can do to contribute helps towards this investment and the operations of IEC. If you want, there are a number of slideshows going out throughout the building. You can see the number of programs that we have. We have programs, over 150 programs for youth alone. As you know, this hall is filled with so many younger people. And we offer services for their betterment, whether it's education or professional development. We are trying to bring value to the community in multiple different ways. And all of that is done by funding from you, from these donations that we collect on these days, specifically on these days. We collect majority of our donations on these days. So please, look at the QR codes on the wall if you haven't already. There are volunteers walking around. There are slips you can fill out. If you don't have time right now, there are tables, one outside, one in the Legacy Hall that you can go. We could take credit card, we take Zelle, we take PayPal, we take cash, we take check. Any way that you can donate, we will be able to process it.
Yeah. Sean, I wanted to let everyone know, a sign of a successful organization, a good sign to look at is the organization's ability to transition to the next generation. And I wanted to let you know how IEC Husaini has been maturing the youth to be able to take the leadership role in these events. Mashallah, Sean, he's young, still young. I know him since his childhood. And I have seen him grow into this leadership position that he's in, right? So you look at the youth who are volunteering outside, whether it's parking, whether it's crowd management, whether it's directing traffic and whatnot. They're all youth. They're taking leadership role. So it's not only helping in this organization of these events, but also helping them grow in their ability to do people management as well as communication skill, dealing with difficult situations and whatnot. It's maturing the organization collectively. It's helping all of us together. Also, for those who don't get an opportunity to watch the programs or listen to the programs, in the Majlis and in the Jashan, the youth are encouraged. In fact, most of these Jashans, you will see the actual youth doing nizamat of Jashans. That's a very unique capability to sort of overcome the stage fears, overcome the public speaking qualities and whatnot. That enables them to have that leadership role and be able to speak on behalf of the community to the outside organizations, to the external, to outreach, whether it's politically or in the non-political ways as well. So that's a lot of benefits that Hussaini provides to the community, to the organization, to the society. We want all of you to partake in those events through your contributions. MashaAllah, I see the youth are pretty active over here, and I see a lot of people are actually zooming into the QR codes. Please continue to do that. Sean, you mentioned about the professional development. I just wanted to remind everyone, the facility that we see here, whether it's this hall or the adjacent hall or the two halls downstairs, throughout the year, these places are fully utilized with a lot of activities. Besides our regular programs, whether it's the Majalis and the Jashan and the prayers, the Friday prayers, we also have some special events that I want you to be aware of. Every Saturday morning, there is a Quran tafsir program that happens. It's been going on for more than 10 years now. For those who are unable to join us physically, you can log into our YouTube channel every Saturday morning at Fajr time, the tafsir program. It's one of the best programs. For those who have seniors at home, just log them in and have them watch that. It's very it's very enlightening to sort of listen into the conversation and listen to the Quran tafsir as well. Also, besides the Sunday school educational activities, we have other programs as well where the youth get engaged into the Islamic propagation, outreach. There are girls programs as well. Also, from a professional development standpoint, IEC has made efforts to actually take some key individuals from our community with some special technical skills, managerial skills, and have them share their knowledge with the other people who are aspiring to get into the next role at their workplace, whether it's technically, managerially, changing changing careers and whatnot, providing them the opportunity to learn some new technology, learn some new skills, and be able to sort of grow themselves as well as their careers into the next position. Sean, anything else you wanted to add?
I just want to add, for that professional development, it's not just for the youth.
Yeah.
We've had adults, people that have been in their career for decades, who have learned new skills that have actually benefited and advanced their career utilizing the resources, these classes that IEC has to offer. So all this is for every age. IEC caters to everyone. We have the kids workshop that starts at 4. We have programs that start younger. We have programs that go for the teenagers. We have programs for college kids. We have programs for people in their career already, and we have programs for seniors. So it is all encompassing. So don't think if you don't have children or if you are still young that IEC doesn't have something for you. There is plenty to offer, and all this comes from your funding. Actually, I just got a message. If you can't do the $13.50, if you were to donate $313, 313, such a beautiful number, for the next 5 months. So 313, pledge to donate 313 for 5 months, that will equal that 1,350, inshallah.
MashaAllah. So Sean, I also getting a lot of messages about people, donating and asking information. Inshallah, I will respond to some of those messages as well. Now, we don't want to take too much of your time, and this Moulana's time is very precious, and we want to be cognizant and aware of tonight's special night as well. We wanted you to please open your heart, open your wallets, open your hands. Hussaini needs money. And we are requesting you, for the sake of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, for the sake of Janab Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, for the sake of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So please donate. We wanted to also thank Moulana for allowing us to make this event, so really appreciate. We will request him to please continue his speech. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I'm sorry. One quick announcement. The weather is getting severe outside. I'm getting messages from the parking volunteers and management. The weather is getting severe. Please make sure you know where your children are. There is a tornado watch as well. You are safe in the building, but we need everyone in the building. We can accommodate. So please, if you don't know where your child is right now, please go and seek them, bring them inside, make sure they're sitting with you. We want everyone to be safe. We don't want any incidents. And it is getting worse, so please cooperate with management as instruction comes. As I mentioned before, if for some reason the power does go out, we do have backup power. Please stay within the building and follow management's instructions. With that, I actually request everyone, I know we're all sitting tight, but just creep up as much as possible with a loud salawat.
As we continue our discussion, hopefully what you're looking for you'll achieve. This message of Sayyid al-Shuhada shouldn't stop. It's just tawfiq given by Allah, and hopefully we continue to spread this message from generation to generation. Just remember, when we had nothing, this message was alive. When we had nothing, all they had was a lantern in a prison. And from there this begins to spread. And it spreads from house to house. And it spreads from year to year and generation to generation. Wherever you went, you took this. And today as we come together and amalgamate within this room, you're seeing people from all walks of life who have brought this particular light into this hall. As I look around you, I can see people have brought this azhar from Lebanon, from Iraq, from India, from Pakistan, from all different parts of the world. They've brought this here. That tells you that this culture is still alive. Today the language or the medium of discussion is English. But for us to get here has required many generations of hard work to be here. And you'll see that as we go forward, you'll find that these are the generations that take this message forward. 2 nights left, as we said, and there's still a lot to consolidate. What we started a number of days ago has taken us a while to come and bring it to conclusion. I'd said something the last couple of nights, and I think it's important to expand upon that. As we said, in this particular time, which is the time of Hayra, in effect the time of bewilderment that you find Muslims, or you could say followers of Islam, like children wandering around, orphans without realizing where the goal is. And in this particular time, misguidance increases. So we said there were 2 things, if you go back. The first thing we said was this, that in the last days, there will be inhiraf of the deen. So all sorts of different things are going to be introduced. We'll forget the asl of what the deen is, or what it stands for. Today you're seeing this. In the last couple of years, haven't you seen an official attack on Imam itself? Is the Imam Masoom? Right? Eventually it's going to come to a stage, is the Imam actually a system or a person? All of a sudden the personality of the 12th Imam is going to go. People are going to see it as a system only. And then after that, slowly but surely you find Imamah begins to erode. We're already slightly there. And people will bring all sorts of philosophies together to say this is what it was, this is how it was. No, throughout time we've had people who believed in different things, but that doesn't mean that the main ground was ever corroded away. From the very beginning, you found that there were people who believed in different things, right? People believed in the Imam, they didn't do. But this belief that we have in the Imam itself as mansus min Allah, and the idea that the Imam is infallible, and the idea that the Imam's knowledge is kamil, has been there from the very beginning, and has been flowing from the very beginning. In the same way, there's another topic that we looked at, and we said that the akhlaq of the people are going to erode. You see, the principal aim of Islam was what? The Prophet came to rectify the akhlaq of the people, right? إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمْ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The idea was to refine the akhlaq of the people. Everything else was taken care of. You look at the time of Musa, Sharia was already there. Spirituality was in the time of Isa. Tawheed had been covered in the time of Ibrahim. Something unique was required to complete the deen, and that in itself was akhlaq. Why? Because akhlaq is one thing that has a nisbah to Allah itself. All the akhlaq that you implement is actually the names and the qualities of God anyway. What, in essence, from our reading, what Allah wanted you to be like is like Him. If Allah is giving, He wanted you to be giving. If Allah loves, He wanted you to love. If Allah is compassionate, He wanted you to be compassionate. So we sense the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt to implement to you how God wants you to be like. And this is why, if you notice, there's always been a markaz. There's always been a central location where people go back to, you do ruju to. You go back to that central location to understand Tawheed. And this is why Ahlul Bayt have said, had it not been for us, nobody would have understood Tawheed. How do you understand Tawheed? For that Bedouin who doesn't understand philosophy, doesn't understand theology, barely understands Aqidah, how does that person understand what Tawheed is? When he looks to the Prophet of God, and when the Prophet says to him, be good to your mother, he comes to understand what Tawheed is. Why? Because the compassion of Allah is what the Prophet is teaching. And had the Prophet not been Kamil himself, there would not be a way to be able to teach that compassion to other people. In every direction, the Prophet was complete. So when you have all of this, what is the biggest fear? Here, let me take it to the next stage. Next stage is this. I'll encapsulate it in a story so that you can understand. Sheikh Murtaza Zahid, we've mentioned him once before, on the second night, was one of the great mystics of his time. And this is only going back a couple of decades ago. One day they say in Tehran when he came to one of his lessons, this is probably about 40 years ago or so, or 50 years ago, maybe in the late 60s, early 70s, comes to teach one of his lessons. As he comes in, his students could see that the Sheikh is not even cognizant of himself. His mind is everywhere. He went to pray, lead the prayers. Generally, ulama like that are very focused. They could tell that his mind wasn't there completely. And this carried on for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So these students said, there must be an issue. Something's happened that this Shaykh of ours' mind is turning one direction, the other. So they went to him. And they said to him, look, Shaykh, what's happened to you? It seems that your mind's everywhere. You're unable to focus. You seem bewildered. You seem upset. He gave a reply that shattered them completely. He said that, look, when the Imam says something, when the Prophet says something, they mean what they say. They said, what do you mean? He says, I read a hadith. That hadith has such a profound impact on my life that it shook me. He said, what was the hadith? He said, I read that one day Rasulullah is sitting with Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he says to the Imam, he says, Ali, Shaitan knows as many ways to misguide as you know how to guide somebody. He says, it shook me. Ali, who's Ali? Insan Kamil. Ali's, how many ways does he know how to guide? He says, the hadith says Shaitan knows as many ways like that to misguide. It shook him. He says, if that's the case, then what's the hope? There is only one hope. Don't trust in your own ability sometimes. People get overconfident. Nothing's going to happen to me. No, it's important to be confident. But when it comes to something that the enemy is strong, in that situation, what do? In that particular situation, here you take, as they say, complete refuge within the Ahlul Bayt. Look, I'm going to give you add this on with another story, because I need to emphasize this. I need you to understand, and I need your children to understand this. This is why I'm making it easy for you. Earlier on today, we had a philosophical discussion which wasn't for everyone. But today's not the time of philosophy. There's different ages here. I'm going to emphasize it in a way that from the eldest to the youngest can understand. And I'll do it in this way. Sheikh Ahmad al-Fahri, right, was one of the great scholars. I remember him. Some of you may do as well. He used to be once upon a time in Damascus. When he retired, he came back to Mashhad. He was from Mashhad. And one year, they say Ayatollah Bahjat went on holiday. They don't go on holiday. In fact, in the summer it gets hot, so they go to a place where it's cooler. So for a month or so, the family shifts, or used to shift, to Mashhad. And over there they'd spend the month. He said when they were there for the month, Sayyid al-Fahri came, knowing Sheikh Bahjat from Najaf's time. So imagine, he's about in those days about 1991, 92, right? Sayyid al-Fahri may be in his 80s. They'd known each other from when? From when they were 15, 16, 17 years old. So he says that he came over to him, and Fahri himself wasn't a small man, by the way. So when I tell you the story, it's not the fact that he was a small man. For those people who remember in the year 2000 or so, when you'd go to Damascus for ziyarah of Sayyidah Zainab, you could see when he would walk, sometimes he would go like this. He could smell your deeds, basically. He was Sahib Karamat. He could see your barzakh. He'd cover his face, put his head down and run. People would want to come speak to him. He could sense, smell from the malakut, the evil of human beings, right? You get to a stage in your development spiritually where then everything of the person becomes exposed. And this is where you want Allah to help you to hide all of that. But anyhow, without going too much into that, if we had more time or some other time, hopefully some other time we can discuss how human beings develop to get to that stage. But anyway, so it's not the fact that Fahri was a small man. Say that Fahri was a big man. He used to cover it, put his head down and used to walk. And he used to come into the haram, lead the prayers, and he used to shoot out, right? He could see people's dispositions. He could see where people stood. So he wasn't a small man. He comes to Ayatollah Bahjat, he says something to him. He says, brother, sits down. And this is narrated by his son who was sitting there at the time. He says, look, you and I have been friends for over 50 years. He says, you and I have been friends for over 50 years. You found the path, you got there. You found the path, you got there. You weren't a good friend to me. They said, when he said that to Allah, I was shook. They take this seriously. He's not exaggerating either. The other one's not exaggerating. He, with all of his emotion, turns around to him and he says, you weren't a good friend to me. He says, why? He says, you found the path, you didn't take me. You should have taken me as well and taken me on the path. He says, now if you offer it to me, I don't have the stamina anymore. I can't sit down and recite 70,000 times La ilaha illallah anymore. I can't sit down and recite 100,000 times Allah anymore. I can't sit down and do one khatm Quran every single night. You found the way. I'm too old now. But give me something that the Imam gave you. Allah Bahjat replies. He says, had it been anybody else, I would never have said anything to them. But because you're asking me in such a way, and this is Allah started to cry himself, because you're asking me in such a way, because you're asking me in such a way, I have to now give you something. Otherwise I wouldn't have done. And if anybody knows him, he never spoke. You look at, if you've ever observed Shaykh Bahjat in his lifetime, never spoke. Even when he wanted to transfer something, he would transfer from his eyes into your soul. I'm not saying something that's obscure. If ever you saw him, when he used to walk past, you would see there was a line of people standing there. Some of them were from the awliya. They had a blockage in their spiritual journey. He would look at them, he would eradicate that blockage. Right? He was able to do this. I've seen it myself. I remember walking one time. There was a lot of people that I said salam. He replied to me in such a way, I heard it inside my wujud. Right? So he's not a small person. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I wouldn't say it to you. And I never shared this with anyone. The only reason I'm saying is emphasizing what the man is. If you look at that kind of a person who has that ability to do, never spoke once, you would see somebody would come to him and say, Allah saw you in a dream. He says, whatever I said in the dream, go and carry it. Go, go, don't say anything. A man was very silent. That today nobody even knows who his students are. Nobody knows. Anybody who claims, they're claiming just like that. He made sure that nobody knew who his student was so that fame wouldn't spread. So he's a man who's silent. Yes, people claim to be students in fiqh and usul, but in terms of irfan, there's nobody. Right? People who know, but it's not open knowledge that he has students, who is it, what it is. And he was the greatest of all teachers. If you look at Allama Tabatabai, when people asked him who's the best, bigger, and this is in the 70s when nobody knew who he was. they would say, Taqi Bahjud, Taqi. So all of these ulama would indicate towards him. Here's Sayyid al-Fahri says, he says, listen, I don't have time for you to put me on a program where I can sit down and fast for 40 days, vegan fast, and then do this, and this is my own words, do this, and do this, and do this. You got to give me a shortcut, basically. And Allah replies to me, says, listen, had it been anybody else, I wouldn't have told him. But because you've been my friend and you've asked in such a way, I'm going to tell you. And this was big even for the people around, because Allah never spoke like this. He turned around and he said, when I spoke to the 8th Imam, he gave me 10 things. Right? And this is now he's divulging from himself. Never said anything like this. But here he's, because Sayyid al-Fahri is there, and the guy listening, and they quickly came out and told everybody in the spread, as it does. He said to Sayyid al-Fahri, he says, I was given 10 things, 9 of them I won't mention, 1 of them I'll mention to you. This is for you, this is going to benefit you. He said this to Sayyid al-Fahri, I'm going to say to all of you, because it will benefit all of you. You know what Ayatollah Bahjud says to him? He says to him one thing. He says, brother, just remember this. I'm going to say it in the way that it was narrated to me. He says, remember one thing. Those people who take panah in Ahlul Bayt will never let them go. Those people who seek refuge in Ahlul Bayt, those people who submit to Ahlul Bayt, who come forward and say, Mawla, all I have is you, you'll see that Ahlul Bayt will never let you go. He says, you want a shortcut to get to where you need to get to? That's the way. Go to the Imam, give your hand to the Imam. You see, when you give your hand to the Imam, Imam will take you and take you up. Conclusion is this. Don't ever lose hope in what the Imam is. Understand this. When Ahlul Bayt, you seek refuge in. It's not like going to somebody else. You go to somebody's door, you knock on the door. They can turn around tomorrow and turn you away. Ahlul Bayt are such, the minute that you come into their walaya, they will never let you go. You need that push to be able to grab the hand of Ahlul Bayt. Now that we're on this, I'm going to link this to something else before I come to what I wanted to say. Just before here, at 4 o'clock, I was at brother's house, I see with the crowd. I narrated a story. Now, I don't usually, at least for 2-3 years, narrate the same story. I want to give this now. The only reason being is that this is for your benefit. The reason I say this is because people require hope today. So many people messaging from all over the world. Help this dua, this help, that help. Let me give you the story. I'm going to give it to you, close it, and then I'm going to move on to what I want to say, what I couldn't say, and what I'm unable to say tomorrow. Excuse me, I'll go longer than my time. I need to finish the topic, but for now, let me give you this story. I mentioned this before, but most of you weren't there, so I'm going to mention it to you people today. There was a tajir in Tehran, and I'll quickly sum this story up, but it's important for you to listen. There was a tajir in Tehran. As you know, as is the nature of business, you have highs, you have lows. A time came when he lost his business, he lost his money, went bankrupt. You know how difficult it is for a person who all of his life has been earning themselves, supporting their family, that all of a sudden they go bust. And you and I have both seen it in our communities and societies. People reject a person then. You can truly see who your friends are in that situation. And you come to realize, actually, I don't really have true friends anyway. People only like you and then when this goes, then everything goes. Or they like status. But the average person who doesn't have status or money, who gives them the time of day? And you make a mistake there. You don't know. You may not do, but you don't know which member of Ahlul Bayt gives them time of day. Never underestimate a person. The awtad of the Imam, we mentioned there's 360 people at any given time who are the helpers of the Imam. When one dies, another one replaces them. If I've read anything about them, the vast majority of them are always either sweepers or cleaners or people who you would regard as insignificant. But in the eyes of the Imam, their significance is great. So if ever you see a person who has belief in your Imam and you feel he's insignificant, don't turn that person away. You don't know what they have. You don't know what maqam they're at. Some of the greatest people in history, and even today, from the awliya of Allah, happen to be people who you may think are insignificant. Ja'far Mujtahidi himself was one of the awtad. Hair down to their beard down to their. People maybe even avoid him because they thought, who is this guy? No social status in the sense that you may want, or money or anything like that. But if you look at him, the Maraja would come to his door. Why? Waliullah. So they're people that you wouldn't know. They'd be living in your Chicago. You don't give time of day, they die. All of a sudden you realize, oh my God, we've lost a person like that with thousands of books, for example. For example, how much advantage do we take of people like that? Only you and I know. But the fact of the matter is this: there will always be people that we look at as not in the way that we should do. Maybe they don't have a big amama, don't have a big beard. Sometimes even a guy without that, small amama, small beard, whatever it may be. Maybe somebody who you may not know. If you look at somebody like Said Mehdi Qawwam, his earlier days, if you look at it, small beard, small amama. Allama Tabatabai himself, no more than like 3 meters of an amama, that's it. Just to give you an understanding, this is 13 meters. So he's 3 meters, imagine, small amama, right? Doesn't mean anything. The man was a great man. So here they say this tajir goes bankrupt. When he goes bankrupt, what does he do? He says, listen, I'm not going to go to anybody and ask them, because he knows every door he's going to ask eventually is going to close. He had a debt of about 200 million to Oman, which in those days a house would come for just under $1 million. So that's 200 houses worth of a debt. So you know what he does? He says to his wife, look, you know, my family are not going to give me anything. Could you go and ask your brother, ask your family members, get me some money. I want to go to a person that I know is not going to turn me away. She goes, who? He goes, Ali ibn Musa Rada. I want to go to the Imam. Says, fine. She somehow gets the money together and a bit of money in his pocket to have food for, to spend the night, sleep somewhere. He goes there, he gets there, at Fajr time just after, he goes into the haram and he begins to cry in front of the Imam. And he says, Mawla, I've come from far away. I've got a lot of ghairah. I've got a lot of pride. I wouldn't put my hand out to anyone. The only person I'm putting my hand out to is you. You've got to resolve my issue. And he cried until just half an hour before Dhuhr. And then he comes to realize he had a headache. Obviously, when you cry a lot, he goes out to freshen up, to do wudu again. In the process of that, he realizes somebody's pickpocketed him. Money's gone. Now you can imagine, Nurun ala nur. He's come for the Imam. He only had a bit of money. That money is gone. He doesn't have money to eat now, let alone to stay. You know what he does? He comes back and he gets upset. He says, Mawla, is this what you wanted? He says, I believe you as my Imam. I know you knew that somebody's taking something from my pocket. I know you knew. And I knew you could have stopped him. So upset with the Imam, he walks out upset. He says, forget this, I'm walking out. Now imagine, in essence, what has he done? I couldn't do that to my own. You couldn't do that to your own father, could you? He's done that to the Imam. He stormed out. He says, Mawla, you could have prevented it. I came to you to ask. I've not put my hands in front of anybody. I have a family. I'm in debt. It's not a small debt, it's a big debt and my pocket's gone. He walked out. He's saying, what's this? Just remember one thing. What did Ayatollah Bahjat say? When you put your hand in the hand of Ahlul Bayt, remember, they're not going to let go. He comes out, jiggles his pocket. There was a small coin there. In the olden days, there used to be booths. Right, as you know, you go to the phone booth, you make a call. In the UK, we used to have red phone booths. You go inside, you make a call. Over here, I don't know what it was. I wasn't here in those days. By the time I came, there was all mobile phones. Anyway, he goes into the booth, puts the coin in, and at that moment, he says, I'm going to phone a random number. I'm going to phone a random number and I'm going to ask him to help me. Because if I ask anybody else, I'm going to be embarrassed. If the person helps me, he does. If he tells me to get lost, I'll hang up the phone. Nobody's going to know. He says, it doesn't befit me to ask anybody else, but I'm in trouble. So I'm going to ask a random person so I don't get embarrassed. Puts the coin in, dials the number, makes the call. The person on the other side answers. He says, yes, brother. What would you like? He says, listen, I'm one of the Za'ir of the Imam. I've come. I've got no money. I'm bankrupt. My money's been taken. I'm stuck. You know what the man says? He says, where are you? He says, I don't even know where I am. He goes, ask somebody. Calm down, ask somebody outside. He asked him, he says, where are we? He says, Falak-e-Ab. If you go to the Haram, Bazaar Imam Reza, that bazaar outside, that Falak, that roundabout there's known as Falak-e-Ab. Right? In the olden days, the Haram didn't come to that stage. It would go all the way. So it would take you a good 10 minutes to walk in. So he says that we were over there. He says, I was over there. He says, how do you look like? So he described himself. He says, just give me 15 minutes. I'll send you a driver. Driver comes in 15 minutes. Man looks up. He says, you're the guy who's on the phone? So he says, I realize that this is not the guy on the phone, but he's one of his servants or somebody, must be his driver. He says, please come inside. Our boss basically is waiting for you. Gets into the car. 15 minutes later, they drive out of Mashhad. They go out of Mashhad and they come to his house. He looks at the house and says, mashallah, this guy is well-to-do. Come to the right place. Looks up and everything else, and he's thinking in his heart. He's thinking, even if I can get something for a day, I'll survive. The minute he comes in, this man comes out. He says, Assalamu alaikum, brother, lovely to see you. Zahir of Imam Hussain, Zahir of Imam Hussain. Come inside. Comes inside. He says, the food is all there. He said, at least now, till the evening now, I'm done. At least I've got food. I can worry about food for tomorrow later. As is the case. When you're in a situation, what do you think about immediately? How am I going to survive now? He sits down and he begins to eat. And so then he asks him, he says, brother, what brings you here? He says, what brings me here is that I went bankrupt. And because of that, I came to the Imam. I went to the Imam. In the process of coming to the Imam, my pocket was snipped. I've lost my money. What do I do? This man smiles. He says, how much money do you need to survive your bankruptcy? He says, well, I lost 200 million, and I probably need another 70 million to stand up. He looks up, he says, okay, no issues. Takes out a checkbook, writes 200 million. He says, here we are. He goes, brother, I don't have the money to pay you back. That's a heavy amount of money. That's 200 houses worth that you're giving me. He goes, it's okay. Take it. Here's another check. You wanted 70? Let me give you 80. It'll take you time to recover again. But slowly, slowly, you pay the 70 back. As far as the 200 goes, I don't want it back. He looks up and he says, what's your story? In the meantime, a 14-year-old boy had come in. Gave a cup of tea to the man. And he walked out. You know what he says to him? If you recite a salawat, please. Another salawat, please. Son, if you need to go, go. Quickly go if you need to go. Go. Recite another salawat, please. He says, what's your story? But every time I hear this story, it makes me cry. You know what this man says? He said, let me give you my story now. You've given me your story, I'm going to give you my story. He says, my story is this. You see that young man who walked in? He's 14 now. He's my son. When this young boy was 12 years old, he had a brain tumor. We went to all the hospitals. Went to all the hospitals in Mashhad. All of them said, we don't have the technology to deal with it. You've got to go to Cromwell Hospital in London. That's the biggest specialist hospital for this. You've got to go to London. Over there, if they can treat you, they can treat you. He says that we went to London. He says they wanted to take 3 tests. When 2 of them became positive, the 3rd test, the doctor said, if this comes negative, he's okay. If it comes positive, even we can't help. 1st test positive, 2nd test positive, 3rd test. When he gave the sample, they said the doctor came to the father. He says, you believe in God? He says, yes. He says, start praying. Start praying. If this turns positive, we have no solution. This man walks out of the hospital, stands on the road, and he just says one thing. He looks at the sky. He says, Imam Raza, I don't claim to be your Shia. I don't even claim to be your Muhib. But I live in Mashhad. I can claim to be your neighbor. Neighbors have hukuk as well. Mawla, if you help my son, I'm going to give a hefty amount of money to one of your Shias who needs it. He said the minute the tears rolled, the doctor comes forward. He says, guess what? It's negative. Let's go again and let's give him the test. 1st test negative, 2nd test negative, 3rd test negative. He says, you can go back again to Iran now. He says, but any medicine? He goes, we don't give healthy people medicine. Get on a plane, go back. He says he went back, came to Mashhad. Again, he goes to all of the doctors, says, can you check? They checked. They said that person who came before and that person now, these are two different people. Whatever they did, they've done something very powerful. He says he broke down at that time. He says, Mawla, now if ever one of your people come to me, I'm ready. He says, brother, one night before you came, I saw a dream. Imam comes in my dream. He says, now if you want to help one of my people, a person is coming from Tehran. He's going to call randomly. You answer, you help him. You helping him means you're helping me. Ahlul Bayt, this is the way that they see this. He says, when you phoned, I was ready. I was ready for the fact that I knew that you were coming to help. And when you came, what's 200 million for my son's health? Here, take the check, take 80,000. You know what he says after that? He says after that, I'm arranging for your ticket back. He says to one of his khadims, put him in the car, take him to the terminal. Takes him to the terminal. As he's going, this man from Tehran says, Tajir says, he saw the dome of Imam Raza. He says, stop, let me just do one thing. When he stops, he looks at the dome. He says, Mawla, you are Karim ibn Karim ibn Karim ibn Karim ibn Karim, all the way back to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, your mother is Zahra, your grandfather is Rasulullah. And you lose hope coming here? Brothers, you're sitting here now where miracles take place. You've come to the right door because you've come to the door of the Ahlul Bayt. Don't ever lose hope. This is where we are today. Looking at the time, I want to go more, and I could probably go on another hour in this discussion. Problem is, it's 11 o'clock. All of you have come here for a reason. Tomorrow I'm going to go a bit over time. I'm saying from now, even though the management has said you can go as long as you want, forget the clock. Tomorrow we'll do that. We'll have extra time. We'll go over because there's a lot to discuss. Today I just want to say one thing. So many people have, because you have aqeedah on one thing. You've not come to listen to me. You've come to hold the alam of Abbas. That's what you've come for. I'm not going to stop you from that. But journey with me. Journey with me. There's a story that I've told in the past as well. All I know is this. Anyone who goes under the flag of Abbas, regardless of what background they're from, I've seen myself, regardless of religion, whoever you are, if you have enough aqeedah, it happens. It happens. I'll be heading to Toronto after this, after a while. I've seen myself at one of the centers that I recite, that on the night of Shahadat of Rasulullah, that there are women who are, I used to ask them, who are these women? That they told me they're all women from the other denomination who are coming. I said, but do they have aqeedah? They said, there's one aqeedah that they will have. And that is that if you come under the flag of Abbas, you get what you want. And I was watching. There were women coming with children. And so I asked one of them, I said, what's this? They said, we couldn't have children. Today, this child we bought is because we want to put money towards the center. We came under the flag. Last year, Mawla Abbas gave us a child. Others have aqeedah. We lack it sometimes. We lack understanding it. Today, all of us are journeying to Abbas. I'm going to begin. Excuse me if I take a bit longer. I'm going to recite slowly. Why? People have come from far away. You're going to cry, you're going to weep. You're going to make dua. Pray for other people. There are many people who have said they're sick. There's a young man in particular who's in ICU. Today I was also told there's a lady in Nairobi, she's suffering, she's on ICU. There are other people who have messaged, pray for all of them. Pray for them. Tonight is the night of dua. Allah cure all of them. Allah make all of them. Give them all shifa again. Let them all go back to their families again. Their loved ones who are waiting for them to come back to their homes. Just remember one thing. There was a 4-year-old girl waiting for her uncle to come back as well. It's a 4-year-old girl waiting. That uncle never came back. For the sake of that pain, may Allah bring back those people who are away from their families. People are waiting today. This is what they say. They say on nights like these, remember, dua becomes mustajab. How do you do dua though? There's certain wasilas that you take. I'm going to get to that, but I'll just say one thing. Let's start from here. Start from here. They say that when Amir al-Mu'mineen wanted to get married again, he says to his brother Aqil, he says, Aqil, find me a woman who will bear a child, who will be so brave that he'll protect my son Hussein. You know what Amir al-Mu'mineen would say to Abbas? He would say something to Abbas. He would say, Abbas, just remember, Hassan and Hussein are Rasulullah's sons. You're my son. Your responsibility is to protect them. In the way that Ali protected Rasulullah, you protect Hussein as well. Right? You protect Hussein as well. In this way they say, Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Aqil. Aqil says, yes, there is a family. There is a family. There's a family there. The Qilabiya tribe, the Ra'is of that tribe has a daughter. I think she would be a good match. Imam says, go. Ask for her hand. They say when Aqil came in and he sat with the Ra'is of the tribe, he says that I'm here to put a proposal forward to you. Tribal men never show emotions. They never show emotions. They're always stiff upper lip. He says that there's a proposal. He says, what's the proposal? He says, I've come to propose my brother Ali for your daughter. He looks up and he says, which Ali? He says, Ali ibn Abi Talib, my brother. He says, which one? He wasn't getting it. He says, the son-in-law of Rasulullah. He says, Rasulullah's son-in-law Ali? He says, yes. He says, for me is accepted. For me is accepted. Aqil looks up and he says, we Ahlul Bayt don't accept like that. Until the girl herself is not happy, we're not going to say yes as well. So at that moment he gets up. He goes to speak to his wife. He says, a beautiful proposal has come. He says, what's the proposal? He says, Ali ibn Abi Talib, his brother's there. He said, do we accept this proposal? He says, I've accepted the proposal. But Aqil has turned around and said, he says, the only way is possible if you ask the girl herself. He says, so then what do we do? He says, then can you ask? Mother, in those days, as you know, there's haya there. So he says to one of the friends, says, go and ask. Go and ask her if she accepts or not. Here, if you look at history, it takes another turn in history. History here says that Fatima Qilabiya goes to sleep. And as she goes to sleep, she sees a dream. In that dream, she sees that when she's standing there, she sees Fatima to Zahra walk towards her. And as Fatima's walking towards her, she has a dressing robe there. This dressing wedding robe, as they say. This wedding robe is there and she helps Baneen wear this. And she just says one thing. She says, when a proposal comes for my Ali accepted, why? You're going to have a son Abbas. That Abbas is going to defend my Hussein in Karbala. Baneen wakes up. She says, for me is accepted. Says, for me is accepted. After that, the wedding takes place. Banu Hashim's swords are out. She walks under the swords as she comes towards the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Tragedy is this. She walks up and she sits on the door and she doesn't go in. And as she's not going in, they say, Kulthum and Sayyidah Zainab come forward. One grabs one arm, one the other. They say, mother, why don't you go in for? She says, I'm not here to be your mother. I'm here to be your slave. How can I go into the house where Fatima Zahra was? Says, no, come inside. Both of them take her inside. After about 2 or 3 days, she comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and she just says one thing. She says, my Sayyid, my Mawla, one thing I want to request you. Says, what's that request? The answer comes, this was the request. Says, please don't call me Fatima. I know it's my name, but don't call me it. Says, why? He says, every time you call it, I see your children shaking. Tears come into their eyes. They remember their mother. Please don't call me that. From then onwards, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, from today onwards, your name is Baneen. Remember, at this stage, she didn't have any children here. Amir al-Mu'mineen is what? His ilm is until the day of judgment. He knows. He knows she's going to give. Ali then for 10 years does dua for her son. After every prayer, he raises his hands. He says, Allah give me Abbas. Allah give me Abbas. Allah give me Abbas. So look, if I had an opportunity, I'd go for the whole story. I'm going to cut it, I'm going to go to this place. They say Abbas finally comes into this world. Amir al-Mu'mineen, as you've heard as a sunnah, whenever a child was born, he'd kiss him on the forehead. But here when Abbas was born, they say, he opens the parchment, kisses the right arm, and kisses the left arm. Then Baneen begins to cry. She says, Amir al-Mu'mineen, is it the fact that this child is the child of a slave girl that you kiss it on the arms? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, no. Baneen, his right arm is going to be chopped off. His left arm is going to be chopped off. Look, I'm going to recite slowly. You have a lot of du'as. Ask. I haven't increased the tempo for you to do du'a. Otherwise, Masab of Abbas is such, even I can't take reciting it. You won't be able to take listening to it. They say one day Amir al-Mu'mineen walks into the house. Abbas is very young. As a child, 11, 12 months, they'd learn how to walk right at that stage. They say when Amir al-Mu'mineen walks into the sahn, he sees something, he becomes happy. What does he see? He sees Zainab has the right arm of Abbas, Kulthum has the left arm. Abbas is now walking. And at that moment, what do they say? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, look at my daughters helping my son to walk. At that moment, Zainab replies, she says, no father, we're learning how to walk under the shadow of Abbas. Look, I'm missing everything and I'm going, Alam is there. The children are waiting to come in. I'm going to give you one story, then I'm going to go on to Masa'ib of Abbas. Let me tell you this. This used to be recited once upon a time in the Haram of Masam al-Qum. What was recited there, I'm going to tell you now. They say this. They say one day Baneen was pacing it in her house. As Baneen was pacing, Amir al-Mu'mineen walks in. City is the Medina of the Prophet. Amir al-Mu'mineen walks in and he just says one thing. He says, Baneen, what's up? Why are you pacing it for? You know what she replies? She says, my Abbas went in the morning, he hasn't come back yet. Fajr time, mother's heart, right? Doesn't matter if your son is Abul Fadl Abbas. Fajr time goes, Dhuhr time goes, Asr time goes, Maghrib time comes, Amir al-Mu'mineen comes, says, Baneen, what's the problem? She says, my Abbas went in the morning, his face wasn't covered. I'm worried somebody may look at him in a bad way. I'm worried about that. This is why when he realized Baneen really can't take it anymore, he turns around and he says, let me go and get Abbas, I know where he is. As Amir al-Mu'mineen begins to walk, it was heavy for the Imam. Imam is walking somewhere which breaks his heart. Where is he walking? He's walking to a broken grave. And as he walks towards that broken grave, he sees his son was standing there and tears were dropping from his eyes onto the ground. Touches Abbas on the shoulder. Abbas looks around, sees his father, puts his head down. You know what he says? He says, Father, how comes you've come here? He says, don't you know? Your mother Baneen is waiting for you. Your mother Baneen is waiting for you. At that moment he replies, Abbas says, Father, what could I have done? In the morning when I finished my prayer, a voice from a grave came. It said, Waladi, come to me, my son. Come to me, my son. I went to the grave, and at that moment, the voice from the grave said something. It said, Abbas, if only you were alive, your father wouldn't have been grabbed by the neck and pulled onto the road. Abbas, if only you were alive, my rib wouldn't have been broken, Abbas. Abbas, if only you were alive, my Mohsin wouldn't have been Shaheed, Abbas. Abbas, if only you were alive, Zainab wouldn't have become a yatima, Abbas. Abbas, if only you were alive, they wouldn't have chucked my Hassan onto the ground, Abbas. Abbas, if only you were alive, they wouldn't have slapped me on the face, Abbas. Abbas is the dua of Fatima. Look, if I could recite more, I would do. You've cried a lot in these last couple of days. Allah accept your prayer. Continuously crying is only what Imam Zain al-Abidin can do. It's only what your Imam can do. Brothers, I'm going to just say two things and that's it. and have the power to recite, you wouldn't have the power to listen. Honestly, Masa'ib of Abbas is such, it breaks a human being down. One tradition, then moving on to the Masa'ib. I've not started the Masa'ib of Abbas yet. Masa'ib, one tradition. Tradition is this. Sayyid Mehdi Bahrul Ulum. One day a messenger comes, says, come to the grave of Abbas, water's overflowing. It's strange that you only find 2 graves in history with overflow of water. One, grave of Sakina. One, grave of Abbas. There's a link there between these two. One grave of Sakina, one grave of Abbas. Sayyid Mohsin Amina Amali said something. He said that when they took the body of Sakina out, if I can narrate this, when they took the body of Sakina out, they asked him, they said, Sayyid, was there anything you saw? There's still a picture where you see a shroud in front. I have the picture, there's a shroud, white shroud in front. Sayyid Mohsin Amin, when he looked at the body, he says, I did see something. I did see something. He said, what was it? He says, the coffin came undone. I saw the face of Sakina. That's all I saw. He says, what did you see? He said, there was hair missing on her head. They said, why was that? He says, Shimmer would pull her by the head in such a way that her hair was missing. So there was a second thing I saw as well. Says, what did you see? He said, there were 3 finger marks still on her face. Says, why was that? He said, well, Shimmer would slap her on the face. Water comes into the grave of Abbas. Said Mehdi Bahrul Ulum goes there. Mehdi Bahrul Ulum goes there. Water is being taken out. One khadim is there. Khadim looks up at him and says, he says, Sayyid, I want to ask you a question. He says, what's the question? He says, please don't mind me asking, but I need to ask you this. He says, what is it? He says, you recite, and all the ulama recite, Abbas was very tall. Abbas was very tall. He says, but this grave is very small. He says, I don't understand. If a tall man, why is the grave small? Says Sayyid Mehdi Bahrul Ulum chucks his amam on the ground. He says, I wish you never asked me. He said, when Abbas's body fell, all the enemies jumped him. Everything they had, they were smashing his body. Smashing his body. If you can see this in the way that I see this, they say when Abbas was standing there, when somebody attacks, you defend with a sword. You defend with your arms. The enemy wasn't touching Abbas, but the minute his right arm went and the minute his left arm went, a man is standing there unable to hold his sword. No arms there. Then they attacked him from all sides, these cowards. When they attacked him, he falls to the ground. They say all of his body, they smashed in such a way that when Imam Zain al-Abidin came, he says, move away from here. My uncle has a lot of ghaira. He wouldn't be able to take it. Puts his abba down. When he lifted the ribs, the entire body collapsed. When he lifted his feet, all of the legs collapsed. He put all of the pieces together to bury Abbas. I still haven't come to the Masa'ib of Abbas, but let me say one thing to you. When they say that person comes to Medina, he says, قَدْ قُتِلَ الْحُسَيْنُ بِكَرْبَلَا. They say, Banin says to Fadl, bring me my stick. As she grabs a stick, what does she do? Stands in the sand. She says something. She says, Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen, forgive me that my milk wasn't able to help you in the plains of Karbala. As she comes out, the man just says one thing. Says Banin. She says, how is it possible my Abbas was killed? Nobody's raised a son like Abbas. You're mistaken, it can't be my son. Reply came Banin. Abbas didn't have any arms to defend himself with. What happened? Said he was hit on the back of the head. Sheikh Abbas Qummi narrates this qasida. She would sit there, she would draw 4 lines in the ground. And then she would say something. She would say, oh person coming from Karbala, tell me, is the Furat still stopped? Or is there water from the Furat? Then at that moment she asks a question. She says, tell me, when my son fell to the ground, did his chest hit the ground first? Did his head hit the ground first? He had no arms. This mother was sitting there. Missing everything. Time comes. Time comes. A young girl comes forward. Young girl comes forward. She says, Father, I'm thirsty. I want my uncle Abbas to go get me water. I'm finishing everything. You wouldn't be able to say, I can't recite it. Finishing everything, going right to the end. You know what it says? It says, I can't. It says, Sakina, be careful. After today, believe me, you're going to remember him. It says, no, let him go. Abbas gets on a horse. They say before he goes, an elderly sister comes forward. She says, brother, come inside the tent, please. Come inside the tent. Abbas goes inside. You know what this elderly sister comes? She takes both of her arms. She puts it around his neck. She says, brother, come down. He comes down. She just says one thing. She says, my father used to say that a day is going to come when my hijab is going to be taken. I believe him because he's my father. I didn't know how. Today I know, Abbas, that when you're going into the battlefield, from today onwards, there's no security left. She looks around, she says, oh women of Banu Hashim, I take my pledge away. I can't protect your hijab because I know my brother is now going. I can't recite it from what happened to Abbas. I just want you to see it from the way Sakina saw it. Sakina turns around to all of the children. She says, children, time is about to come. All of you are going to get water. All of you are going to get water. All of you are going to get water. Tradition says this, all of the children come. And now they're watching. This alam is going. And as the alam begins to go, the flag begins to go. All of them are rejoicing. They're happy. The thirst is about to break. As it's going, all of a sudden, tradition says this alam starts to fall to the right-hand side. And as it falls to the right-hand side, she begins to shake. She looks at the children and she says, I'm going to do dua. You say Ameen. She turns around, she says, Allah, I don't want water anymore. Just bring back my uncle now. All of a sudden they say the flag stabilizes. Alam comes back again. Alam comes back again. Now look at it from the side of Abbas. Abbas has water in his mouth. His right arm goes. They say his left arm goes, looks up and says one thing. He says, Allah, I don't want to live, but make sure this water gets back to Sakina. Voice comes, Abbas, we've not accepted your dua. At that moment, Abbas says one thing. In which case, Allah, now accept this then. What is that dua? Make sure my body never goes back again. Hurmala says, there's certain arrows I fired that destroyed Hussein. The only time they say Hussein in a loud voice starts to cry is when it was this. They say when the arrow was fired, as the arrow went into the water, Abbas begins to shake. A further arrow was fired. The arrow goes into the eye of Abbas. Somebody hits him from the back. Eventually they say, when Abbas falls, he calls somebody. He says, brother, come to my help. At that moment, a broken brother grabs his back, falls to the ground and begins to cry. As he begins to cry, he begins to crawl. He says, brother, call me. Blood is in the eyes of the brother. Blood, one eye, other eye. They say Abbas was lying there. He says, oh person coming, just give me a couple of minutes before you kill me. My Mawla Hussein is coming. My Mawla Hussein is coming. I just want to do his ziyarah and that's it. I won't say any more. One thing I'll say, Yahya Yathrabi narrates. He says, one day I was under the mimbar of Abbas. One day I was under the mimbar of Abbas. The Wa'iz said something. He said an arrow went into the eye of Abbas. So the arrow went into the eye of Abbas. He says, I cried so much that when the man came down, I said, don't recite this. He said, why? Maybe the hadith is zaif. I'm an old man, I won't be able to take it. Yahya Yathrabi, Ayatollah Yahya Yathrabi says, he says, at night time, I saw Abbas. Abul Fadl Abbas came to me. He said, why did you stop my shir from reciting this? He says, I thought maybe the hadith wasn't correct. Abbas replies, he said, the hadith was correct. The arrow did go into my eye. When something goes into your eye, it's very painful. He says, when the arrow went into my eye, it was hurting me. I didn't have any arms to pull it out. I was moving my body side to side to pull out. The arrow didn't come out. He says, I was feeling so much pain. I wanted to call Hussein, but I knew my Mawla was alone. I knew Zainab was there. He says, I put my head between my knees to pull the arrow out. As I shook the arrow, it was hurting me. I was in pain. I didn't know what to do.
I wanted to call my Moula when I didn't know what to do, and the pain was increasing. I looked towards Najaf and I said, Father, come and help me, because I'm feeling so much. Matalas.
بازو جو کٹے دانتوں میں مشکیزہ اٹھایا، بازو جو کٹے دانتوں میں مشکیزہ اٹھایا، نزدیک کوئی شیر کے کبار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، بازو جو کٹے دانتوں میں مشکیزہ دبایا، بازو جو کٹے دانتوں میں مشکیزہ دبایا، جب مشک چھڑی پھر وہ حیادار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، غیرت کا تقاضا ہے علمدار کی ہستی، غیرت کا تقاضا ہے علمدار کی ہستی، بچی سے شرم سارے وفادار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، پانی کے لیے بھیجا علمدار کو شہ نے، پانی کے لیے بھیجا علمدار کو شہ نے، افسوس مسلمانوں کو اعتبار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار 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 نہ آیا، دریا سے دل حیدر قرار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، بازو جو کٹے دانتوں میں مشکیزہ دبایا، بازو جو کٹے دانتوں میں مشکیزہ دبایا، جب مشک چھڑی پھر وہ حیادار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، آیا ہے علم اور علمدار نہ آیا، یا حسین 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 یا حسین، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا، کرتے ہیں ماتم حرم عباس کا، ہو گیا مرنا ستم عباس کا آئے علمدار 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 کہتے تھے کمر تھام کے یہ سید ابرار آئے علمدار 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 کہتے تھے کمر تھام کے یہ سید ابرار آئے آئے علمدار آئے علمدار آئے یہ حال ہے لاشے کا سنبھالا نہیں جاتا 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 تیرا کسے بھائی کے نکالا نہیں جاتا نکالا نہیں جاتا امداد کو آ جائیے یا حیدر کرار آئے علمدار 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 زینب نے تیری آس پہ چھوڑا تھا مدینہ 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 میں کیسے بتاؤں اسے سکائے سکینہ سکائے سکینہ مارا گیا زینب تیری چادر کا نگہدار آئے علمدار 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 بازو بھی قلم ہو گئے بازو شبیر 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 ٹکڑے ہے بدن آنکھ میں پیوست ہوا تھی پیوست ہوا تھی اس نے یہ میری ماں کی دعاؤں پہ کیا وار آئے علمدار 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 بازو بھی قلم ہو گئے بازو شبیر 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 ٹکڑے ہے بدن آنکھ میں پیوست ہوا تھی پیوست کس نے یہ میری ماں کی دعاؤں پہ کیا وار آئے علمدار آئے علمدار آئے علمدار آئے علمدار آئے علمدار آئے علمدار آئے ہائے علمدار 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 آتی ہے صدا لوٹ لو ناموس نبی کو 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 اب مارنا ہے حسین ابن علی کو مرنے پہ تیرے جشن مناتے ستمگار ہائے علمدار
جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم نہ سر پہ رہی چادر نہ سر پہ رہی چادر نہ میرا بچا بھائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم
سب مل کے جواب
جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی
حسین
عباس کہاں ہو تم عباس چلے آؤ خیموں میں غریبوں کے بھوکے اور پیاسے ہیں لوٹے نصیبوں کے سجاد کو ہوش نہیں کلثوم گھبرائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا آئی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدا
حسین
ہو تم جلتی ہوئی دھرتی پہ مظلوم کی لاش پڑی روتی ہے سکینہ بھی بابا کے پاس کھڑی اے حال یتیمانہ غربت کی گھٹا چھائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے
حسین حسین
شمر کمینے نے معصوم سکینہ کے مارے تماچے بھی آئے پھول سے گالوں پہ آ جاؤ چچا غازی رو رو کے وہ چلائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے اے نبی کی صدائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے
جواب
زینب کی صدائی
حسین
عباس کہاں ہو تم شبیر چلا رن میں کئی روز کا پیاسا ہے تیروں سے ہوا چلنی مظلوم کا لاشا ہے نہ کفن ملا اس کو نہ قبر بن پائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدائی عباس کہاں ہو تم جلتے ہوئے خیموں سے زینب کی صدائی عباس کہاں ہو تم نہ سر پہ رہی چادر نہ سر پہ رہی چادر نہ میرا بچا بھائی
الوداع
عباس کہاں ہو تم چلتے ہوئے خیموں سے رب کی صدائی
حسین
سے کہاں ہو تو کلثوم نے سر پیٹا مقتل میں کھڑے ہو کے آئے کانپتے ہاتھوں سے زینب نے رو رو کے دستار امامت کی سجاد کو پہنائی عباس کہاں ہو تو یا حسین 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 یا حسین
السلام علیکم یا ابا عبداللہ، السلام علیکم یا ابن رسول اللہ، السلام علیکم علی جدک و ابیک و علی امک و اخیک وللمعصومین من ذریتک و بنیک، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام علیکم یا غریب الغرباء، السلام علیکم یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء، کن شفیعنا و شفیع والدینا فی یوم الجزاء، السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ، السلام علیکم یا صاحب الزمان، السلام علیکم امام انس والجان، اجر اللہ تعالی فرجک وسأل اللہ تعالی مخرجک و ظہورک ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. اللہ